I don't know. That's an exclamation point. I know.
We're now live.
Good evening, Commissioner Elder, would you lead us in the pledge and a moment of silence, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kramer, she was asking what will be here in just a few minutes. Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Commissioner Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We now have some minutes that we could consider approving. Commissioner Elder?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the minutes from budget work session Tuesday, August 15, 2023, from executive session Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, from annual session Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, and from our executive session Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
Support. All those in support? Yes.
Was that all 4 sets of minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I thought it probably was, but I had one question of the executive. And I apologize. First, I apologize that we're giving you boatloads of minutes to have to try to put out. And so I appreciate you putting these out as fast as you can. It seemed like there was a repeat of one motion. And I think it was, yes, bottom of page 13 and into page 14. Is that the same motion?
Well, it's because
We didn't have
I
any.
listed on the bottom of 13 and then you went into discussion.
Yep.
Then there was a motion to call the question. So I put the vote for the call to question, and when we called the vote, I just relisted the motion so it would be clear.
Very
what
good.
we're voting.
Very thorough. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, have an agenda to amend or approve. We do have one late edition number 1, which I suggest we put down as item 17 on our agenda. Any additions or deletions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. We have an agenda. At this time, we have our administrator update. Welcome back to the travels.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I happened to hear a comment about what was item number 17. So for the sake of the audience, I will mention that late edition number 1 has to do with emergency management 911 services. And it is in regards to communication systems. And I believe that the assistant finance director will be giving an explanation on that in just a few minutes. I have no other action items other than to share that Again, this is Trudy Gala's last official meeting with the county, and she will be sadly missed. She's done an amazing job for the county, and just wanted to again recognize her and say thank you. We'll be having a little farewell party on the 30th for Trudy for her retirement, so I'm sure it won't be a quiet retirement. I'm sure she'll be active. And you're welcome, Commissioner. I stalled appropriately. Just
Thanks. So then we're gonna start the party with Daphne.
So I will provide more information as things go forward. We have some good applicants for positions, but no one that will be able to truly replace them. So.
Thank you. Our next presentation is Yarrow Brown, the Executive Director of Housing North, for our Housing North update. Thank you for coming, Yarrow.
I'm gonna invite Lois with me too from the Housing Action Committee.
Thank you.
I don't know, is our presentation available?
I know that the handout was given out, and I believe Laurel is starting that right now.
Perfect, thank you. Well, while that's loading, there is a PDF of the presentation, but you should have all received a one pager with some links, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is a lot of information. So please use the links and the information from the Housing Ready update if you want some follow-up, and then reach out to me if you have any questions. But essentially, when it does load, I wanted to just give kind of an overview of the year we spent with the Housing Ready program in Leelanau County, which I think you may have all received a 3-page update, which is linked in here, but just kind of goes over it in more detail. It's actually a PDF of a presentation. Well, getting close. No. That is the summary that I was talking about. The first slide would have a colorful, there we go. All right, thank you. So I guess I always like to set the stage when I give a presentation for what we're talking about when we talk about affordability and affordable housing, which is that it's relative. We really hope no one is paying more than 30% of their income on housing. And we were formed at Housing North to focus on the whole income spectrum, from those experiencing homelessness all the way now up to 120% of the area median income. Most of the resources for housing are in the lower income range, and a lot of what we've been advocating for and hoping is that we can provide resources and opportunity to make sure everybody in our community has a safe and affordable home. So if you go to the next slide, what I just wanted to highlight is that we have had a lot of momentum in Leelanau County. I think our communities are becoming housing ready in Leelanau County, but there is a long way to go, and this work takes some time. And so Zach has been a huge asset to the community, and we're in transition with finding somebody else to replace that position. But we really have been, I would say, very present in the community and working in very specific communities to help them as they reach out to us. I would say we focus a little bit more on the east side in Leelanau, where there's existing infrastructure and opportunities for housing, but we haven't reached out to all 14 units of government in the community. And I won't go over all these in detail, but I think there is a lot of momentum. 3 groundbreakings is huge in the last year. Obviously, those aren't what we take credit for, but those are communities or projects that we've supported. And then we know we've preserved at least 4 year-round rentals through the pilot project that we launched at Housing North in partnership with Peninsula Housing. And there are at least 16 units that have been completed in that 120 and below of area median income, and 82 units in progress. So that's a lot. That's good. So if you go to the next slide, these are just more highlights, but I think what we really have is created a resource base for Leelanau County, which is available to anybody, and been able to get these new resources and tools into each of those communities. Now the next step will be the follow-up. So we've done a lot of introduction, shared the new information, but I think we really do need to reach back out and get more momentum with how they can actually adapt these tools and bring in more housing. We have a new housing needs assessment. So I just want to talk about those numbers a little bit so we can kind of understand what the need is in Leelanau County, and then talk about sort of moving forward for next year. So if you go to the next slide, we do have a pretty big need in Leelanau County for housing. The housing needs assessment that came out in 2023 showed that we need about 2,235 units in Leelanau County. Those are broken up between rental and for sale homes. We know that the majority of our region prefers home ownership, but we also know that we need rentals and opportunities for people to be paying a low enough rent to be able to eventually get into home ownership. A few things that I wanted to point out about this. Now, this is a guide to use. It's not saying you actually have to build these units in the next 5 years, but it helps break them down into different income categories. So you can kind of see where that need is and the different occupations that might service or those different residents in your community. If you go to the next slide, I think what is most striking in Leelanau County, and this is really hard to read, but if you zoom in, you can see that there's a lot of red X's on this. Almost every one of the occupations listed in this list cannot find a place to rent that would be affordable in Leelanau County. Now, we have this for all 10 counties, but obviously I'm focusing on Leelanau County here. So just really want to hone in on the fact that many people who live and work in Leelanau County still can't afford to live here, or work in Leelanau County can't afford to live here. If you go to the next slide. We also know that we have the highest median home price in all of the 10 counties in Northwest Michigan, and that our community is aging. So, and that we have very few rental options in our region. So really, really low vacancy rate in Leelanau County, but that's across the region as well. In a healthy economy, you want that to be 4 to 6%. I welcome you to dive in deeper to this housing needs assessment. I don't want to take up a ton of your time. So there is a lot more data on our website if you want to learn more. If you go to the next slide. One of the important pieces to the study that I think was really helpful is to give some recommendations and some opportunities for Leelanau County. So we know that there's about 4,000 people who commute into Leelanau County to work, but they don't live in the county. So that's just something to consider. We also, have a lot of, as many communities do, deteriorating housing stock. So it's not just about new builds, it's about maintaining and upkeeping, what exists currently. So those are the numbers. Just wanted to, share those with you. We're still digesting them. They're new. We'll be going around to each community to share them, to help them understand the numbers. None of the communities in Leelanau County got a community assessment, but we can do a fair share analysis. So if a village or community wants to know more about that specific need, we can help them with that. So if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to remind you of the tools. Have I brought these up? Has Zach shared them? There's some really cool tools. I won't go into detail on these, but we're really hoping counties, townships, and all units of government will come alongside us as developers, nonprofit and for-profit, request or want to use these tools, but these are also available for single family or individual residents as well. So there are live links here if you want to go and learn about those tools, but this is sort of how my brain was working to figure out how they can be used. So they're not just for multifamily, they're for single family as well. And this was a huge win for our region in 2022. These tools were not normally available, and so now they're opt-in. So they're not mandated, but they are available if people do want to use those. And right now in Traverse City, there's a project in front of them to use a payment in lieu of taxes for a workforce housing project, which is typically for 80% AMI to 120. So some communities are really starting to adopt these tools and use them, and we hope more will in 2024. Wow, I'm going backwards. So the next slide just gives you a few links and information about what communities are doing. A lot of these are outside Leelanau County, but I will say that a lot of communities in Leelanau County are also making really important changes, smaller changes, but changes that would allow accessory dwelling units, duplexes, different opportunities to create density in a smaller way. So I wanted to celebrate these wins, give you some links if you want to hear see what other communities are doing. And then if you go to the next slide, just really, I think I want to hone in on the fact that there's a huge gap in funding housing projects in general. It's impossible to build affordable housing right now to much of our workforce without some support. So there are some tools available. And I think today what I'm requesting is that we have an opportunity, either Housing North or others, to have a study session or a work session to dive into these tools with you a little deeper, to learn about ways that the county can help leverage resources for housing. We need private funding, we need public funding, we need as much funding as possible to bridge the gap so that people in Leelanau County can live and work here. So that is what is listed here. These are just a few ideas that have been recommended and used in other communities. These tools were also highlighted at the Housing Summit for those of you who attended, and there's resources we can share and dive in deeper. We've also presented them and worked on them through the Housing Ready program and with the Housing Action Committee. So the last thing I wanted to, I guess, mention on the next slide is sort of what's next. What's next for the Housing Ready program in Leelanau County? And what we would really like to do, as I mentioned, is request a study session for you to learn more about these tools and the opportunities for public funding to bring to housing. But then also to basically help finalize those housing opportunities that were mentioned in the housing needs assessment. Where are these opportunities to build housing? How can we help our communities do that? And then figure out any sort of barriers to bringing that housing in. And the next thing would be to work on an outreach plan. So if you go to the next slide, sorry, we really have a vision for a county action plan that would tie into the most recent regional housing needs, or I'm sorry, housing plan that we created. So the state, we have our first statewide housing plan. Housing North helped create a regional housing plan. We want to make sure each county has an opportunity to create their own action steps. And we want to do that in the next coming months in early 2024 in partnership with the HAC, or the Housing Action Committee, which is why Lois is here, as well as the Leelanau Peninsula Economic Foundation. So we have been meeting a lot, doing a lot of talking, but we really feel like to bring the community in, get some more engagement, and keep that momentum going to really bring more units to the region, or to the county. So if you go to the next slide, and there were some links on there for example housing action plans. We've done it on the village level. There's some county action plans. But really what we want to do is bring this partnership between Housing North, the Leelanau Peninsula Economic Foundation, and the Housing Action Committee to start that public engagement in early 2024. And we're hoping this will bring some more momentum around housing and some more opportunity to have those conversations in communities that want to dive into more housing projects. And then I think the last slide, because am I on time? Am I doing okay, Ty? Did I keep it under 10? Is just our contact information. So we're here as a resource. We hope this program will continue in 2024 and into 2025, and just want you to know we're a resource and be able to answer any questions that you have about housing and how we can help.
Questions for Darrell or Lois? Quinn?
Thank you very, very much for your advocacy on this issue. It's such a need in this county and in the whole state.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I didn't get that hint up. I'd love to have a copy.
We think it was emailed earlier, but we will make sure it is again.
Thank you.
Kim?
We had, I think, 3 or was it 4 different 2% grants that involved housing. And I just wondered if you want to speak to that, or if you would support looking at those kind of options to help us move forward with workforce housing.
Yes, for sure. I'm only aware of a couple of them, but yeah, I mean, I think any opportunity that would support housing in Leelanau County, we would definitely support. We have not applied for 2% grants. We haven't seen a specific, reason to at Housing North, but we support the other, projects for sure that are applying.
Commissioner Lutton?
Yes, thank you. So thank you for all the information. I was wondering how you get your statistics on 400 or 4,000 that commute out of Leelanau counties?
That's from the Housing Needs Assessment, and Bowen National is a national researcher who did that study for all 10 counties.
So it's a housing needs based, so they are looking at what data to come up with that number?
They're looking at a whole series of data from demographics, population, economics. They're looking at household size, poverty. So it's I can give you a copy of the report, but yes. Yeah, he's using a lot of census data, but then he has a lot of other resources that are cited in there to look at that migration data.
4,000 commute into Leelanau. How many commute out?
I don't have that in front of me but I can get back to you on that. I just tried to give you guys a summary, but there is a lot of, I think it's somewhere around like 2,000, but I have so many counties that I've looked at that I don't have it.
Yeah, I would bet that it's a whole lot more than 2,000 commute out.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to follow up with you on that. Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Yes.
I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this. Because you guys have more knowledge base in this question, this is simply just for me taking your brain. We have a private business, and I've gotten an email about this, seeking brownfield funds, And I was just wondering, is that typical? If you guys have any insights or information that you could share with the board.
Brownfield funds for housing?
For private business.
I can't personally speak to that
Okay.
myself. That is not really my wheelhouse. Yeah.
No.
No.
Okay.
But,
I think Trudy would be able to assist with that.
Yeah.
Brownfield Authority.
Yeah, I'm just curious because we got an email and inquiring.
Brownfield TIF for housing is a new tool, and if it was a private developer applying for that, I think that would be amazing. But I don't know about it related to a private business.
so the 2023 housing needs assessment that was done for the 10 county area is 600 pages?
Yes.
Yeah, so having that gelled out to 3 pages for Leelanau County is very handy. But I often use, I think it's page 110, the analysis of incomes and what people can afford. And it breaks, if you want that 1 page, I can send it out to everybody. And it breaks down, incomes for food prep and service people, administrations, teachers, nurses, construction labor, retail sales, and then tells you for their high and low income levels, generally, what they can afford to rent for and what they can afford to buy for. They can't buy anything in Leelanau County, so it's just dismal. And when Euro was talking about the collaboration between Housing North and LEHAC, we did talk about it at our last Housing Action Committee meeting and made a recommendation to go forward with jointly working on a housing plan with Leelanau Peninsula Economic Foundation, Housing North, and the Housing Action Committee. So I think that's a enthusiastic forward step, and I feel good about it. So what was the other thing? Oh, I was reading in the US Census Bureau statistics today, always interesting stuff to keep you awake. US housing market is a mess. People with cheap loans don't want to sell. People without homes can't afford to buy. The share of US homeowners that are mortgage free is almost 40%. It's kind of amazing. And almost 33% of those are 65 to 74-year-olds. So if you've either paid off your mortgage or you procured a 3% mortgage, there's no reason to sell. So we're sort of stalled. Nobody's moving in or out. Anyway, just
Thank you.
interesting
And
stuff.
I want to say the Yarrow, we use you a lot in Leelanau Township and your work with the foundation there. And thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
we want you full-time up there.
Well, we are recruiting in Leelanau County, so if you are interested, please call me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, at this time, it's time to recess our regular meeting and go into our public budget hearing. And we'll have our finance director give us an update on our budget presentation, and then we'll take public comment, and then we'll close the budget hearing. This part of the program is for the public. We'll get our chance to do it later. Kathy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. We are sitting with a proposed to adopt budget for 2024, specifically an operational budget. And it is proposed at $16,539,326. Of that, we will be, to balance it, utilizing $990,405 of fund balance. Should we receive exactly every revenue as we've proposed, and we've spent exactly every dollar on the expense side, that's what we would use. To give you some perspective, last year at this time, roughly more so in December, the board was looking at about a $15.5 million budget. Of that, you are going to use about 9.9% of your fund balance to balance that proposed budget. This year, this proposed budget with the fund balance to make it a balanced budget is about 6%. Just to give you a little perspective of where we were a year ago. Then, of course, as we transition through the year, there are budget amendments that are made because contracts are renewed. They might be higher than we knew. We propose those contracts to you. You approve them, we amend the budget, and we find revenue to cover those additional expenses. So it will evolve, but this is a good start for 2024. Some of the things that we discussed to get to this point is there are of that, it's roughly a $1 million higher than last year, roughly. And the ticket items that really drive that are the 3.25% negotiated increase in wages with the unions, 3.25 proposed with the non-union personnel. We also have some added positions, specifically a detective for the Sheriff's Department and a 21-hour Freedom of Information Act coordinator for the prosecutor. We are also going to have a one-year position proposed in this budget for early voting called an election coordinator manager. Some movement within some departments is the proposal for executive assistant in the Board of Commissioners office to go from hourly to salary. There's also a deputy register in the probate court going from 28 hours to 35. And there's the potential for the IT technician to be put into an IT director position. So those are some of the significant impacts to that $1 million proposed budget. And of course, we have some capital outlay issues that the department heads or the elected came to you and told you about that are in here. And we will be addressing some of the larger capital things at another meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And at this time, we will take public comment on budget, on the proposed budget. We'll have other public comment after we dismiss for this part. So if you have any comment about our proposed budget, I'd love to hear from you. Mr. Murkowski? I thought I saw you starting to get up.
You caused me to get up.
We're ready for you.
Just a comment that in prior years, until the last year or two, some commissioners may recall, we initiated a process by which the commissioners were given and the public had available at this meeting a top line report, 1 or 2 or 3 pages that indicated a shot by shot item, what happened, what is going on, what are the challenges that have impacted the existing budget process and the proposed budget process. And we would like to see that resurrected if at all possible. It would be very helpful to the public. Otherwise, the purpose of the meeting has no purpose. So people like to see something, have something in their hands that's substantial, that tells them how the government goes about doing the business of government, even though they are overtaxed. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment on the budget? Yes, Joe.
I'm handing these out early because they apply to the budget too, I believe. So you can stop me if you think they don't.
Would this be more appropriate for our public comment in just a few minutes? We want just on our proposed budget.
Right, that's all it's going to be on
Okay.
right now, but I'll be speaking on the same topic later here. Sorry. I'll let you go. Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And I heard with the proposed budget, you're talking about an extra position, extra money, extra hours, all that. Well, why are we doing that? That's what I'm saying. I'll take you first to the back, page 7, Jocelyn Benson. Okay, this all applies to election. This all applies to the job. It's on election. Jocelyn Benson Benson, our Secretary of State, 5 courts have concluded that Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson conducts unlawful elections. That's one thing to consider. Then, from pages 2 to 7, is looking at the Constitution of the United States. And on page 3,
Mr. Commissioner, I'll allow my commissioners to overrule me, but I think we're getting into public comments that we want to hear from you after we close.
it applies
the
to
budget
both.
This is a comment on our proposed budget.
I'm just saying there shouldn't be these increases in the budget. For this reason, the US Constitution on page 3 says the Congress may determine the time of choosing, misspelled, the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. 1 day voting. And that's what my sign is saying. And if we had 1 day voting, there would be no money.
I would ask you to take your seat, please. We'll call you up again when it's time to talk about public comment. But we're specifically talking about our proposed budget.
I'm just saying you would zero all that out and you took an extra minute from me. I should have, I
We'll
believe.
start
Thank
over
you.
fresh with your time. Thank you. Other public comment on the proposed budget, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. This time we would close the budget hearing and move back into our regular meeting. And I will call on Mr. Wiesner to continue his starting fresh with your public comment and then any other public comment that we might have.
Yeah.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. Again, I don't know how you see that didn't apply. The budget has lots of extra money put into it. The US Constitution says there should be no extra money because there should be no extra days for this whole thing. It applies absolutely. It zeroes out all that budgeting. It shouldn't be there. And Jocelyn Benson broke the law 5 times, and part of it was on the election stuff. This first part was on comments that were discussed at the end of the last meeting, and I spoke on this topic. The rainbow belongs to God. We were at the downtown, where probably 5,000, I don't know how many, their parents filled all the streets. And again, what I said was that Up North Pride had been there last year, and I said, kindergartners aren't young enough for them. They have to go for even the ones that are in the backpacks to persuade them into LGBTQ. And if you'll notice here, this sign was thrown in the lake. It was broken in 3 pieces, bent in 3 pieces by the guy. If you go to my website, tcfamily.org, you'll see, and you'll notice right up here that God is scribbled up. I didn't do that. That man, I believe he did it right then, or someone before I got the sign back in the group did it. And that fits perfectly because we have 2 worldviews, one based on man's word and one based on God's word. And that's what my article at tcfamily.org shares. I shared that I was down there to share the truth, and the website talks about TCAPs promoting 500 books promoting homosexuality, not one on the other side. Alfred Kinsey and the miserable men, he's the first of the 7 miserable men who started this whole movement. Read about them. You know, some of you, I don't think you're taking this seriously. Read about their life and tell me if they were anything but miserable men, and they passed it on to all the kids in the school nowadays. And Commissioner Algier, said these kids struggle. Yes, they do, but they're created. That's why the worldview is created in the image of God. That gives them extreme worth. And just because they've done it in history for a long time doesn't mean it's right. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments? Mrs. Roberts.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Howdy. You get to see what this seat's like for once. First of all, thanks for everything you guys do. We spent all afternoon trying to do a 3-minute speech, and then I talked to the chairman, and he really disappointed me because he told me I couldn't single out one of your commissioners. What he didn't know is I was writing a speech about him, about how great he is. So I don't get to do that speech, Ty. I'm just joking, little humor. I watched last week's meeting and a couple things came to light. One I want to clarify is, first of all, Rick Robbins, Elmwood Township. Sorry about that, Michelle. There was a comment made about, we made a motion last year for humanity, Habitat for Humanity, and we gave them a ton of money. We didn't give them any money. I made the motion to give them 100,000. And what was going to happen was we were going to wait for the second round of ARP. And because we were getting low on funds because most of that money went to broadband. So I just want to clarify that we did not give them anything, because I just hate to see this move on to the next level. And somebody that does decide this grant hears something that they thought at a meeting and it's not true. And you don't know how much these people work for the housing. I mean, I've got experience the last year and a half, and those people that do that, they work more than dairy farmers. The other thing I want to address is it's really taken back, guys, is that one of these commissioners would say it's okay to break the law on this HR deal with the vacation time. I did some research. It's not a minute with the IRS. They take everything very seriously. I looked. We also have a letter from the Treasury Department signed by their senior counsel. He's attorney. We also from our legal saying it's not right. He's attorney, or she. And we also have from our accounting firm saying that it's not proper. And it concerned me that I don't think any of you guys have a P number. And I don't mean a P number for standing out there to go in the bathroom. I'm talking about a P number to be attorney and practice law. And that's what I saw here at last week's meeting with one of the board members here practicing law, saying it's okay sending the message to the public that it's okay to break the law. Again, thank you, and appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. Yes. Dan.
Okay. Hi, good evening. Sam Getzinger, Elmwood Township. And I just wanted to comment on Yara's wonderful presentation. And one of the things I remember that really hit home with me about housing in Leelanau is when I found out that the EMS workers in Northport didn't live there. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm 80 years old. I want my EMS worker close to my house. I'm just saying, I think that's really criminal. So thank you, Yara, for that work. But I'm actually here tonight to talk about the crowd organization. And I wanted to, because I know the solid waste is on the agenda. So I want you to please support the Solid Waste Council and their effort to develop our state mandated materials management plan. It's my hope that this plan will include a thoughtful approach to the utilization of biomass for our county's soil replenishment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Rick, I'd like to thank you for the rock you donated for the wonderful day when we celebrated the Grand Traverse Band flag coming up.
Thank you.
Oh, and my grandkids are here, so goodbye. Sorry.
Other public comment, please. Good evening.
Hi. Similar to Sam, I'm also here to speak in favor of organic waste diversion policies in our county. So going into the materials management planning process, I would love to see great representation with strong goals and action toward building systems to help reduce organic waste in our community which in landfills produces methane, a very potent greenhouse gas, but can be used to create compost and biochar, which are very healthy soil amendments that support healthy water, healthy soil, and healthy food systems. So, oh, and sorry, I'm Kristen Page.
What is your name?
Kristen Page. Right. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much.
Other public comment?
Here I come. I'm Jim Carpenter from Leland. I've been on a bit of a leadership kick of late. Because if there was ever a need, in my opinion, for real solid leadership by our leaders, it's right now, locally, statewide, nationally, and for that matter, globally. To me, a leader is someone that's a good listener, that's action-oriented, that is empathetic, is truthful, is a consensus builder, exercises humility, is thoughtful, and is gracious in wins and losses. I would like to applaud our commissioners, our governor and her colleagues, and our president. And in particular, I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Ty Wessel for creating a model that he's put in place for cooperative, bipartisan leadership on behalf of the residents of the county. And it's refreshing to see how well this group is getting together and working, even jovial at times. And I'm thrilled. Keep up the good work, and thank you for your service.
That sounds really great. Thank you.
He can speak longer if he'd
I
like.
know. Do you have any friends?
I don't have the power to do that.
At this point, I'll break into song.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Evening.
Good evening. I'm Shirley Dunclow. I live on the old Main Street in Lake Leelanau, like right behind the gas station.
Louder,
And
Shirley.
on September 11th of 96, that was right after the gas station was put in, we had, I think it was like 5 or 6 inches of rain, and it came, their culvert was directed right at our house. It wiped out the whole west side, brought everything, the driveway, everything was in the back. And I had Steve Christensen there trying to come up with something to do. Well, nothing's ever been done. So on this September, when we got the 6.5 inches of rain, it wiped us out again. It took out most of the east side this time. We had 2-foot trenches dug. We had the utility wires were all exposed. And it's just every year, we've got like 5 or 6 times, we get anything more than about 1.5 inches. We're repairing all the driveways because there's a driveway on the east and the west that makes a half circle. And I'm just looking for some kind of answer of where to turn, who's going to help us? Because Steve, all I ever get is empty promises and blaming everybody else for it. If I have pictures and videos that I took this last time of how bad it is, and I was walking through this barefoot, taking all the videos. That night, my feet were burning, and I never realized before that all the oil, the antifreeze, the gas, all that is running at us and coming down into our yard all the time. It goes just about where our well is. And I'm pretty sure the underground stream that feeds the well is coming right where it goes down every time. I've been kind of talking with the road commission, which they can't do a whole lot, but Brendan can't even find a permit for them to have put in this drainage system. So I don't know what needs to be done about that, but we had a meeting last week And Steve Christensen was there. And his idea is to put in a drainage district, which the county does not need any more of those, which would involve tearing everybody's mailboxes out, trenches dug, ditches through their yards. And then they would come down to Gertrude Street and have to put in a culvert under the street to get to the main drainage. When I've been arguing with this for 27 years that John owns across from the gas station. It's a huge field. It's a wetlands. Why isn't this going over there instead of coming at us every time it rains? I've read what's it called? Leelanau County Soil Erosion, Sedimentation, and Stormwater Runoff Control Ordinance. There's so many violations in there and nobody's doing anything about it. I need to know, where can I turn? What can I do to get some help?
Thank you. And we don't have any answers for you tonight. I know you've been working on this. Keep bugging us and let's talk more. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to ask her a question. You're Shirley of Shirley's Garden?
Thanks.
Other public comment? Yes, sir.
I'll stand. Keith Badoon, Leelanau Township. It's my understanding that everybody that gets elected takes the oath of office to uphold the Constitution as it's written, not rewritten or anything else. So my opinion is that anybody that tries to undermine my constitutional rights, my Bill of Rights, should be recalled because they violated their oath of office. That's all I want to say. And also, I make a declaration that I support Israel 100%. Everything that they do, I support. And I think anti-Semitism needs to be eliminated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comment? We thank you for coming tonight, and we will have another public comment session right at the end of our meeting today. So thank you. We now have commissioner comments. Any commissioner? Yes, Commissioner Ross.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Shirley for coming. I know it wasn't easy for her to speak in front of this large crowd tonight, but I have been along with her on a journey, just a minuscule part of her multi-decade journey. And I do wish that we could, as a commission, find resolution versus going to create another drainage district. So they just encourage us to think collaboratively and see if we can get some solution for that neighborhood in my township of Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kramer.
I just wanted to respond. I don't think Mr. Robbins is here anymore, but my vote last week for the HR, it has come to my attention, and I really think that we as commissioners, I mean, the reason that we're here is because you want us to do some research and maybe some checks and balances. I found something and it needs to be verified, but it has to do with the Paid Medical Leave Act. It says that it covers employees who employ 50 or more individuals, including firms, businesses, educational institutions, nonprofits, agencies, corporations, and government entities. It doesn't apply to the US government, other states, or political subdivisions of other states, meaning that we would be in exempt. So I feel like, yes, we did have legal go over that, but I don't think that it is not a possibility that we revisit that and actually see if that is an accurate statement. So that is why the way I voted for what I voted for last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other commissioner comment? Okay, thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda, and I'd like to read a statement that we prepared for this. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one motion without discussion. Any commissioner may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will be automatically respected and will not need a second. So is there anybody that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, please? To approve the consent agenda. So moved.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. That brings us down to action item number 10. And Trudy Gallant is back here. And Trudy's here. Will you come up front? For those of you that weren't here, we did have a public hearing at 6 o'clock where we were presented with a plan for the brownfield project for the Bluebird Restaurant. Lynn and Skip Telgert are here, the owners of that business and property. Thanks for coming. And we'll turn it over to Trudy and Therese.
Okay, just a little recap for you. We have gone through the process of a brownfield plan with the Telgards at the Bluebird property in Leland. And that involved getting the brownfield plan developed, which was developed by Fishbeck. And this is Teresa Searles. For those who weren't here earlier, this is Teresa Searles from Fishbeck. We then took it out to the township, actually in 2 different presentations, and the township board approved it in October. And then at 6 o'clock today, you had the public hearing on that where we went over a PowerPoint, and then the Telgard spoke, and we had some questions and we answered the questions. So at this time, you're considering the resolution, which would formally adopt the brownfield plan and put it into place. And of course, if you have any other questions at this time, we'd be glad to answer your questions for you.
Commissioner Oga.
I would move to approve the brownfield plan for the Bluebird project.
The brownfield plan resolution.
Okay. Support.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, lots. I got lots of questions. I wasn't there today. I'm sorry. I was at an entrepreneurial event. But yeah, Judy, I'm just kind of interested in learning more, like honestly, like how these brownfield funds can be used for an independent business and just how this functions in general. I just like to hear, you know, anything you might be able to add, because I'm really coming from a base level of no knowledge right now. So help me.
Want me to start?
Sure, go ahead.
So brownfield plans are essentially the mechanism used to support reimbursement of these eligible activities. It's all defined in the Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, which is Public Act 381. And essentially that act specifies what can be eligible, the terms and content of the brownfield plan, the adoption process. It really defines all of that. So everything that is in the plan that you have tonight, it is established through a statute. So 30 years could be eligible for this increment. This plan has about 14 going back to reimburse the developer and 5 for the local brownfield revolving fund, which is also established through statute. It allows the Brownfield Authority to have funds to support other projects in their community. And it's a mechanism to look at these eligible activities that are paid for upfront by a developer to be reimbursed. It does not cover the whole cost of their development. And for this one in particular, it is significant private investment that is put in by the Telgards. What they're getting back through the brownfield plan is only about 3% of that. So it's just certain eligible activities. And it's just a mechanism to help these projects move forward. The property itself has to be designated as a brownfield. In this case, it was determined to be functionally obsolete by the township assessor. Essentially, a lot of the utilities and HVAC system, roof, things like that were really nearing the end of their functional life. And something needs to happen at that point. The Telgards have chosen to make the significant investment to demolish and rebuild to revitalize this amenity.
Does this is my, I'm just gonna come out with my concern because I don't understand. I really don't. Does this diminish any other funding that, you know, like affordable housing would see or anything like that? Like, are we playing a shell game? Is there gonna be someone who loses out in this?
The reimbursement that goes back to the developer comes from the taxes that are paid on the property. So in this case, the Telgards own the property and are planning on continuing to own the property. So they are putting the development cost down. They're paying for all of this. They're asking for reimbursement of the eligible activities, which as Teresa said, was about 3% of the total development. So as the taxes get paid, that increment is captured from what the taxes are now to what it will increase with the new development. So they are paying the taxes, they get that back for the eligible activities only. And then there's some costs that will come back to the Brownfield Authority, administrative cost.
Look at tax incentives. Is that right? Am I kind of getting this right? Like that?
I'm gonna say so.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I'm good with that.
Michelle?
I just wanted for clarification for the motion, that the motion was to adopt as presented the resolution approving a brownfield plan by the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Act 381 of the Public Acts of the State of Michigan of 1996 as amended. Is that what you were trying to say?
Thank you, you got it. You know, she's so good.
I just want to verify.
Thank you for keeping us honest.
Thank you.
Any other comments or concerns? We were told at our 6 o'clock meeting that Leland Township has approved this. And 3 of us did tour the facility today. And thank you to them for what they're going to do to keep that restaurant alive. Are we ready for a roll call vote? Commissioner Luttrell?
Just one other clarification that, and I believe you know the answer to this, but I'll ask the question. So if it's sold or transferred, even within family, the project follows, correct? I mean, it's
Drag along, right?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I mean, does the TIF for the eligible activities?
Yes, it isn't like, if it's transferred, it doesn't go away, it still has to transfer to and stay with as like a lien sort of situation.
The Brownfield plan sits on that property, basically.
Property
Okay.
itself.
One of the next steps that we have to do, the final step really, is the Brownfield Authority puts together the developer reimbursement agreement between the Brownfield Authority and the developer. And it spells, and our attorney has drafted it, we've used it before, and it spells out the terms. For instance, they have to pay the taxes. You can't get reimbursement without paying the taxes. They have to proceed with the development and so on and so forth. So that will stay in place with that development.
Even regardless of the owner of the developer.
Well, it's going to be with this developer.
Any other questions? Okay, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes,
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes,
7-0.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a parting note for you. Teresa and I visited another site today for another potential brownfield site of a business owner that has a pretty unique project. We're going to see if we can assist them. And then I got a phone call and I'll be visiting another site tomorrow. So that's great use for the EPA assessment grants and also new economic development in the county.
Thank you, Trudy.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're now at action item number 11, and Kathy's going to come back up. Resolution to adopt and approve and budget rule.
I think at the last meeting, you were given the budget rules prepared for the 2024 budget. These are proposed rules, and it's up to you.
Do I have a motion on the appropriation act? Commissioner Lautner.
I would move that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the resolution to approve the General Appropriations Act.
Support.
Any discussion? Would you call the roll on that, please, Michelle?
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Yes.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. We're now at 11B. We have a motion for that. Commissioner Leonard,
I would move to Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the budget rules for 2024 as presented.
Support.
any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. We're now down to the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians 2% allocation request. We have 3 of them. We have the first one on the Habitat for Humanity. Commissioner Algar?
I would move to approve the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians 2% allocation application on behalf of the Habitat for Humanity Grand Traverse region in the amount of $50,000 to help fund development of the New Waves Church community as presented.
Support. And I did commit to Wendy that I would remind us that they have not received any monies from us in the second round that we ever got. Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-1. We now have a homestretch improvement Pines HOA application. Commissioner Ross?
I move to approve the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians 2% application on behalf of Homestretch Fruitmont Pines HOA in the amount of $30,000 to help fund repairs to the homes within the development as presented.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Ross?
I would just like to say, I went back there on a walk and I'm really excited that this project is gonna go for an application. I think it's a great place.
I'm not going to support this, and I just wanted to specify why. I think it's a wonderful project. I do not believe that we ought to be supporting private homeowners associations, and I think I would like to send applications for 2% allocations on projects that are not private homeowner associations. And that's the reason I'm gonna vote no. I still like the project. Any other discussion? Yes.
I'd just like to add to that, I mean, it epitomizes workforce housing to me, and every person in this room agrees that that's one of our main priorities, one of our largest challenges. And I just think that $30,000 to help make this place that people call home livable and better for future families is money well spent. So I'm gonna vote for it.
Mr. Kramer.
I also am going to join Commissioner Ross on that. It is a hybrid program. I think it brings out the best of both worlds, both nonprofit and for-profit, when they can come together and push things forward. I think that is, I mean, they're not completely solely reliant on grant funding, but then they can also, provide their own income. And I think that's brilliant. So I will support this.
Thank you. Commissioner Algar.
And I will support it because I think it's a worthy project, and we have to keep in mind that the Grand Traverse Band will make this decision.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Lautner?
I will not be supporting this as I didn't support the other housing projects. I think we need to look at perhaps a very slippery slope in what we're asking to be spending our county tax dollars on. And that's what these 2% grant dollars are. These are payment in lieu of taxes. So we are responsible for what we ask to be granted. Obviously, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner Hawkeye, that the tribe will make the decision of the request we put forward. But I think this is a very slippery slope when it comes to private owned houses. I think this is a very crafty way of asking for the 2% grant, but I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yeah, I'm gonna not support this, not because I don't see the need, and I actually will support the Habitat for Humanity and the housing study, but my concern is that as we support and create these communities, that we will end up in a spot where we are continually having to support the ongoing structure, and they should be structured such that they are self-supporting, functional on their own in some way. So that is my concern. So I don't dispute the need, but I will not support this. Thank you.
Ready to vote? All those in support, do we have a motion on the floor, right?
Should we call?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
All those who, because I didn't see a red sign from the clerk telling me that I forgot to.
You got one.
Okay. We have a motion. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved for 3.
That's good.
We now have Peninsula Housing Study application. Anybody want to make a motion, and then we'll have discussion. Commissioner Olgar?
I move to approve the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians 2% allocation application on behalf of Peninsula Housing in the amount of $12,900 to help fund a collaborative design process for affordable housing as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 6-1. Thank you. We're now down to item 13. This board asked me last week after the meeting to reach out to Raymond and Steve Peacock and get clarification on an invoice. I did talk to Steve on Thursday and had a long discussion with Steve, and I have forwarded, I think, each of you an email and Kathy an email. And I told Steve Peacock that it would be our recommendation to put that in the packet and we would approve it. And in response to the question about any late fees, those have been waived. And that wasn't a hard sell for Mr. Peacock, he said, of course. That's the only thing I have to say. That we'll deal with that when we approve the payments. Any discussion? We now are at the Personnel Committee, Human Resources, Personnel, Voluntary Donated Sick Leave, and I think Darcy Weaver's here.
Good evening.
Evening, Darcy.
I would like to just address the question concerning the Paid Medical Leave Act and the 100 employees, et cetera. When we're talking about the vacation donation policy, that is a completely separate issue. The two are not related at all. No, it's not. This is under IRS regulations that first off protect you as the employer from tax violations. And it also protects the employees from having to pay taxes on donated time.
Could I have a motion? Commissioner Russ?
I move to approve by resolution to adopt the voluntary medical sick leave donation policy that is compliant with the Internal Revenue Service as recommended by the Personnel Committee.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I was hoping we could maybe table this to look into it further and really dig down on it. I think it deserves that. I think it was a really great policy that brought our employees together and included a lot of team building. I don't like the optics on this, honestly. And if there is a chance that government entities are exempt, I would really like to know that, like firsthand.
We have a motion on the floor, so let's have discussion of the motion, and if we
Sure.
decide to, if we decide to do that, then we can vote to table it. Okay.
Does a move to table override that?
She made a motion to table, was there second?
Supported it, yes. I support
I
motion to
stand
table.
corrected. There's no discussion either, right? Just a vote to table, no discussion.
So play on the table, seconded, not debatable, go to a vote.
Right, okay. It's been moved and seconded. We table this, this motion. All those in support of that motion say to table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say aye. Renee?
Aye.
Motion fails, 5-2, but thank you. Now we do have a motion on the table. And let's allow the person that made the motion to speak to it, and then we'll take other questions or comments.
Yes, I am chair of the personnel committee, and I take full responsibility for the oversight of this policy. Yes, there were some problems in the beginning, but I have to hand it to our team led by Darcy that she investigated this thoroughly. She vetted it. It needs to go in place now. And again, this is a living policy. So we can look at it again. So, but now if it's not adopted, the employees can't use it. So let's adopt it tonight and then create, if you wanna discuss more about how it went about or where we can go with it, we can continue to have that discussion about this opportunity will be available to our employees. If we vote on this too, or if we.
Mr. Yoga.
I would like to add that we asked Darcy to vet this with the employees. She vetted it with all of the department heads. So this has been looked at, talked about for 2 or 3 months. So we've actually done a whole lot of, and there's always an opportunity to change things later. But in the meantime, employees have not been able to donate. So this lets people donate. They can always improve later if needed. So it is a step forward.
Other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Kramer, and
I
then.
know, I was just wondering, just because I don't know if my memory is serving me correctly. Did we put the pause on this collaboratively, or who put the pause on the employees not thanking the union? Did we do that? Did we do that?
I did not.
Because I think that's a whole entire board decision.
There actually was no policy in place. It was just a procedure that had been done.
Okay, so
There was no board approved policy. So we had never actually even, it was never brought to the board to say, is this something you want to have happen? It was just being done.
but it affected the employees.
It did
correct?
affect the employees.
And that wasn't run by us. I mean, I'm new, I don't know, is that
Our
appropriate?
administrator came to the board and told us that she had discontinued that because she had found that it was not consistent with the IRF rules.
Right, but wasn't that supposed to be an entire board decision, along with the administrator?
Board members have the ability to implement policy. There was no policy in the situation. So from that perspective, the effort was to establish policy.
So I think we did what we need to do when the administrator brought that to us. We worked with Darcy and the personnel committee to come forward with that policy.
Moving forward, I would like to see a collaborative effort when things are going to such a big impact on our employees. I believe that the board needs to be in on those decisions and be able to do our due diligence before anything is enacted, because that is our role. Is
Thank you. Other Yes, Commissioner Leonard?
Yes, as I said last week, I think this is really sad. We did have a practice and we had a practice that worked. And I understand our administrator didn't like the policy or the practice. So therein came the questions, excuse me?
It was IRS regulations, not that I liked it or didn't like
I
it.
understand you didn't like the policies, the practice, so you did look into it with our attorneys at that point. That obviously is what they said. Now, as I stated last week, the professionals I talked to said the way we handled it was not the best practice. And they said it was something that IRS never would have touched. It was such a small deal. And I know I've talked to many businesses, and they're using this very same practice we used to use. IRS won't touch it. Obviously, the can of worms got opened, and it is sad for our policies. I know everybody here used to donate time. Our HR director donated a few days just before there was a halt put on. So this was not pretty, not the way it happened, and then now here we are. So, sad. Not the best practice. for my-
Any other comments? Let's vote. All those in support of the, it's a motion, right? Yeah. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-2. Thank you. Thanks, Darcy. Thank you, Darcy. We are now down to the letter of support for the Grand Traverse Band application for the indigenous approach to comprehensive resiliency.
On that, Darcy's thing here, I'm sorry, resolution, I'm saying that correctly. That was a resolution, I believe.
It was.
And
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
we should do a roll call. vote
Yes,
on
please
that.
do that. You noticed, I kind of thought it was that a motion?
We do have, well, I was still focused on whether or not we had a motion in support, which we did. But if.
My resolution says yes.
Would you do a roll call vote, please? Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Okay. So that was by Commissioner Ross.
Yes.
So Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier. Yes. Commissioner Kramer.
We're on action item 14 still?
We're back on the.
Revoting. Revoting.
Revoting.
Well, that's a big giant no for me.
Commissioner Lautner,
No.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
5-2 still.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you. Now we're on number 15, and as a result of our efforts to try to cooperate and collaborate with the Grand Traverse Band, I'm pleased that when they have grant requests, they reach out to us. This is a grant request that I would hope that we would support by the letter that is prepared for you there. Commissioner Lautner?
I thought we were going to table that tonight and move it to December.
No, we were tabling it, we were moving it forward on last Tuesday for this Tuesday. And my statement was, because you got the letter late, we will move this forward and you can review it.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well, I asked this question ahead of the meeting and I was under the impression we were gonna move it to December.
Would not be timely.
My understanding it came off the consent agenda items and then moved as an action item tonight for discussion. So I think we could take action on it tonight, is what I understood. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yes, that was my understanding.
That's my.
Yes, I know. I just had understood it was gonna be moved to December.
Commissioner Russ?
I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners that the letter of support for Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians be forwarded. Okay, let's revert
To
that.
now.
Yes.
Forwarded to now.
Yeah, be approved by the committee, or by the Board of Commissioners, sorry, support.
Discussion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-1. Thank you. We're now down to Parks and Recreation Commission, 16A. I'm going to ask Commissioner Lautner to kick that off. We moved this forward from a discussion last week.
I will bring to you in December the list of projects that will be uncompleted by the end of the year. At this point, we have to do a budget amendment anyway, because this was placed on the agenda below our budget, which we've now already approved. So it has to be a budget amendment at this point. So that can come forward in December. It could come forward in January too, for that matter, but we can bring it forward in December.
Everybody comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
It was easy. We're now down to late edition number 1.
Parks Administration.
Oh, Parks, oh yes, I'm sorry, I missed that. Parks Administrative Assistant Stipend and Deb Allen.
So just as a follow-up from the discussion at last Tuesday's meeting, you have the EDS in front of you that was submitted. This EDS was recommended or was presented, or I should say again, recommended by the Parks and Recreation Commission based on practice over the last 3 years to provide a stipend for the administrative assistant to provide the support for the Parks and Recs Commission. It was initiated, as you can see here, back in 21 by the county administrator at the time, who had recommended this to the board and had been approved. And so again, I believe it was, as you can see, the motion by Commissioner Lautner to move this forward for this year. And so this is just a practice that has been in place. This would be the last year that this will take place, obviously, with Laurel's position, she leaving that position. We will not continue the practice of having a stipend going forward. We will make other plans to have the Parks and Rec supported by a different department. So this would complete the obligation or the commitment that was made for 2023. Moving forward, that will not be the practice.
Commissioner Richter.
Just so I completely understand, this is when the year was started and she performed these functions, it would have been done under the understanding this stipend would be in place for her to do that. Is that my correct assumption, just to understand? It's not something we're rolling forward, it's just she's done the work, finishing a promise that's been made. She did it.
Right.
Commissioner Lautner.
At Parks and Rec, I asked the question of whether that was a budget request, whether it was whether this was budgeted in our 2023 budget. And I was told, yes, it was. It was not. This is not in our 2023 budget. We did it in 21, we did it in 22. And there was so much pushback. We had other commissioners that didn't like it, et cetera. So it was not put in 2023's budget. So this work is done during the business hours. So our executive assistant was already paid for those hours as it was. So I won't be supporting this motion tonight as I didn't support it last week. It wasn't in the budget for 2023. As you say, practice is just practice, and it is not policy. So I just recommend we do not pay it. I'm hearing something tonight that I did not know. This says it will be supported by another department next year. We have not made that decision. We talked about it because I pushed back on whether or not that position should go from hourly to salary at a $9,000 increase, and that's in this budget. And the assumption was that that person was going to continue to handle Parks and Rec for that raise. Now we're going to give that executive assistant position a raise, and they won't even be doing parks. So who is going to be doing parks? Well, I asked that question during budget, and we never did get an answer. So now I'm hearing decisions were made that I don't think any of us are aware of.
I think that's unrelated to the action item we have on the table, though. I think we have a motion on the table, I think.
It's
Do we have a
certainly
motion?
related,
We have a motion
we
on the
do
table?
not.
Okay, we don't have a motion. The agenda item is whether or not we approve the Parks Administrative Assistant stipend for the current year. That issue that you're bringing up should be dealt with, I think, as a separate discussion topic at the executive committee. Commissioner O'Dea?
Yes, there are questions that are real. But if an employee believes they're gonna get paid for something and they do it, and then people go up to them later and say, sorry about your luck, we changed our mind, that is not the kind of employer that I want to be. Someone did that to me. I have a few words for that, descriptive that I won't use right now, so I will move. And the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners pay the stipend as planned to our executive assistant. It's a better, I have a better one. You want me to reread it?
Would you restate your motion, please?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve payment of the budgeted stipend in the amount of $3,600 to Executive Assistant Laurel S. Evans for work performed as the Parks Administrative Assistant for FY 2023 as recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission. Funds to come from Parks and Rec 850-756.
So it seems like a major question here. Can we get an answer? You're saying it wasn't in the budget. You're
Not in the
saying
budget.
you're giving us a line item where it is in the budget, which is the truth.
It is not in the budget.
But it would be.
You don't-
to them.
I called, let me speak to what I found out today, because I called the administrator early this morning and I had questions about this item. And so we talked, I saw minutes of 3 Parks and Recreation Commission meetings. I think Melinda Lawton, you made one of them to pay this stipend. I saw a memorandum from Chet Janik a year ago that committed us to paying it this year. And I don't like stipends. I think we ought to get away from stipends, and certainly don't like stipends for hourly positions. But I'm like Commissioner O'Dea, if promises are made, if commitments are made after the job is done, it's too late to say can't do it. So I'm going to support the motion, even though I don't like stipends. Commissioner,
I could clarify the motion or the indication or the direction Administrator Janet gave in December of 22 was for a 22 stipend, and it just happened to be paid in the first pay of January of 23.
Additional $1,600.
Correct, but it was applicable to 22.
thank you.
Clarification.
Commissioner O'Rourke, Commissioner Rexroth.
I just, back to the conversation, I know we said it's all solid, but I remember distinctly in the budget discussions that we had like an alternative, actually hire someone for Parks and Rec.
Right.
Or, this other item, we did discuss specifically, I think we actually had insurance from the administrator in that discussion, that this would be taken care of when we kind of like, we horse traded a little, we said, okay, we won't do the secretary thing, but if we do this additional salary, that we have an expectation that this will be taken care of. And you'd have to check back to the minutes, but I think I got an insurance that we got an insurance that if we made that move with the to the salary position, that you would not need the stipend, and it would be also that would be taken care of. I have a pretty specific memory of that conversation, but no, it's not related to this thing, but in support of Mr. Lautner's memory, that I believe that is what we discussed. So
Thank you. Mr. Rush.
I'm still confused, I guess. We're talking about a commitment that was provided to an employee and she has been doing it and we have one more payment to fulfill of 2023, which she thought was coming to her, correct? Am I correct in thinking that? It has nothing to do with going forward. Looks like Kathy.
Correct.
Kathy.
So.
And to help you, Commissioner Ross, there was a payment made in 23, and it's referenced in the memo from Administrator Janik, but it was applicable to 22's work. It happened to be paid in the first payroll of 23 because it was approved December 22nd, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm doing that from memory, but it was applicable to the balance of 22.
So no payment has been made to her for work done in 2023.
Just her hourly rate for the time worked.
Mr. Leonard?
And overtime, regular overtime and overtime at time and a half has been paid. But also, we hired a secretary for Parks. Parks and Rec has been paying a secretary to take the minutes for Parks and Rec. So that's a lion's share of the work done for Parks and Rec. And our Parks and Rec budget is 119%. So we paid a lot to have the minutes done for us and that was trade-off. We're paying somebody to do those minutes for Parks and Rec. So there was never a commitment made. There was never a promise made. It was not put in the budget for 2023.
Any other questions?
I just have a question, Commissioner Lumber, so I can understand, because I guess I didn't see this, I'm just trying to understand, because this is a motion by you to approve that statement.
When I asked if we had put it in the budget for 2023, I was told yes. So I checked into it and I was found out that it was not put in.
Okay, I was just trying to understand. the change of position.
That's where that comes from,
Okay,
yes.
right,
Yes, because I was not told truthful things, so.
Are we ready to vote? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-2. Thank you.
We're gonna know, Lautner and Kramer.
Yes. Late edition number 1, and Kathy, would you come to the table, please?
Yes.
Look in the county, quick, come forward, and. Even though it's not budgeted.
I'm representing Matt Ansorgi with Emergency Management. He and I spoke. This was on the proposed capital outlay list that we were going to work on. And we felt the need was more immediate than waiting to 2024. We also effected a purchase of the jail dishwasher, which was on the 24 need list. We effected that tonight under consent agenda, and I'm sure they're very appreciative because we can get it purchased and remedy that situation. We are on end of life status for the telephony. I figured out how to say the word. It's not a misspelling. It's telephony because Matt spent some time with me. And it's telephone recording equipment. It's at end of life. We have room in the remainder of the 23 budget that we could put this through. We'll do a general ledger or a general fund purchase through Emergency Management Services, and the funding will come, we'll capture some revenue we didn't know we were getting this year yet, or we also could touch contingency, but it's something that I think we can easily do in 23.
I have a motion. Yes, Commissioner Rush.
I move that the County Board of Commissioners waive its policy on bid requirements and authorize the purchase of a new nice telephone recording system with WSI Technologies at a cost not to exceed $26,533.
Correct.
Funds to come from 101-225-426-970-000.
Support.
Any discussion?
I would okay.
That was that's one of the questions we had when we did this, that transaction would be able to be completed within 23, so it actually is a 23 budget item, and we verified that can happen.
Yes, his indication from his distributor is if we can move along, we can get it done.
Thank you.
And I want to thank him for effecting a lower bid too. The first one we were looking at was around 35,000. So that Matt went out and found us a lower amount. That was a real good effort on his part, so.
Any other questions? Commissioner Leonard?
So obviously it's compatible with our equipment over there?
Yes, and I believe it's a third party distributor for Motorola, from what I understand. So that's all, they service all of that equipment over there.
We have a motion on the table, I believe, right? Yes, so all of this part of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And would you tell Mr. Ansorgi that you represented him well?
Well, it was my pleasure.
We are now at review of financials.
We just got the late, but I looked through them, I didn't see anything.
I would like to explain late to you. This week being a 3-day work week, normally our office would produce the claims and accounts payments tomorrow for things that you normally see. We would then be producing a run on Friday for post-audit type things like utilities and things that you're seeing on late. This way we can do one run tomorrow, get all the bills paid, so we don't have to do 2 runs tomorrow and affect that. So you are seeing things that you typically see in post audit. I think you're going to see some utility bills. And there's really not anything too noteworthy in that late group. Just, I wanted to get those last ones in.
It's like a 5-day training for Marine, and but wasn't there another 5-day training in late?
This is the same one. This is Commander Eddington went to Florida. You approved out of state education travel. And we I think it's the first claims and accounts is his hotel accommodations. This is his mileage and meals in this late.
I thought it was the second Marine. It's all one.
It's all that one training. The class was free.
Nice.
So we got him some good training down there.
Any questions on financials? Any committee reports, recommendations, or resolutions? Michelle?
Is this staff reports?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry.
So we get done with the committee reports. Any committee reports?
Well, would it be appropriate to say that our planning director presided over her last Brownfield land bank? Okay. She was appreciated and lauded, and someone read a history of her work for us, which has been incredible in her 32 years as head of the planning department.
Not head.
Pardon?
Not head. But she's been head of the planning department for
says 32 years.
She's been with the planning department 32 years.
Okay. Okay, she has worked so hard. She has a president's. She received the President's Award for the Michigan Association of Planning in 2022. And she is about to be inducted. She's a finalist for induction into the American Society for, I have to say, I asked for certified planners. I asked for what he read because it was so good. And then when I got it, I couldn't read it right.
She's nationally recognized as a planner. We have been very fortunate.
We have been so fortunate to have Trudy Gell. And I'm sorry actually, I'm glad she's not here because I can't read the report, but.
We all are invited to her retirement. on the
30th.
30th.
And she's done incredibly good for this.
So we had a couple of brownfield related things.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Now we're at staff reports and staff and commission. That's your report from staff, commissioners and affiliated agencies. Michelle.
Not as much of a report, I just wanted to, if necessary, apologize to Commissioner Lautner regarding the letter of the support for the tribe that she thought was going to be pulled from the agenda, as I received an email at 1:20 today. And unless there was a follow-up, I received an email that it would be pulled from tonight's agenda, reformat and make part of next month's meeting cycle. So we couldn't check with the chairman. So if I was involved in that confusion for you, I do have the email. I can provide it to you later. That's the information I received today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? We're now at the time in our agenda that we have public comment on any topic that you might want to talk to us about. We thank you for coming. And if you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Yes, Bill.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. I'd like to speak on the elections, and the sign, you've seen it before, Leelanau County. Find out information at tcfamily.org. One person, one ballot, one vote, one day. Want to key in on the one day from what I started earlier speaking. So this handout, if you turn to page 2 that I handed out, the undeniable irregularity that may have cost Trump the election. What was that? On page 3, goes on, second paragraph, the bottom, it says, it's the elephant in the room they pretend not to see. The people that say, oh no, it's the safest election ever, 2020 election. The elephant in this instance was the casting of mail-in ballots over a period of weeks, directly violating a federal statute specifically authorized by the Constitution. This changed the result in at least one swing state, I would think all of them. Here's the background. The Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, assigns to the legislature of each state the task of deciding how the state chooses or appoints its presidential electors. The Constitution uses both verbs. Every state legislature has delegated the choice of appointments to the voters, so they're letting the voters do it. However, the Constitution also limits state legislature authority through its same-day clause or presidential vote clause. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 4, it provides as follows. The Congress may determine the time of choosing, that's misspelled, the electors and the day of which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. One day is what they're saying. Down at the bottom of the page, it goes on, Congress has exercised both of these powers. The law prescribed when we go to the polls is U.S. Code Title 3, Section 1. Here's what it says on the top of page 4. The electors of the president and vice president shall be appointed in each state on the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November in every fourth year succeeding every election of the president and vice president. Going on to page 5, third paragraph starting, it says the Constitution's framers. Now that's reason enough. It defines one day to do it. You should be abiding by that, one day only. But here's some more reasons why we do it that way is starting at page 5, paragraph 3. The Constitution's framers would have agreed with the decision. They designed the presidential election system to forestall what Alexander Hamilton called cabal, intrigue, and corruption. They knew that stretching an election over a long period of time was an invitation to trouble. For example, long voting periods heighten the risk that ballots cast at different times would be treated in different ways. And this goes on, and I'm limited on time. Please read those highlighted areas there. It gives more reasons why we do that. I'm going on now to page 6. This is a picture. You've got it on page 6. If anybody were behind me, they could see a crowd in Argentina that's celebratory. Probably one because the person they wanted got elected, but I would think more than anything, because 4 months earlier, they had machine votings in the primaries and it went so badly that the judges said, we're going to hand voting. So they went to hand voting. It was all counted the same night, 30 million votes, and celebratory because we don't have all this craziness, people all over the country wondering how Biden got 81 million votes and now he's at a 36% approval rating. Highest ever, beat Obama. And then look at the option. Why don't we do that? Jocelyn Benson, the title, 5 courts have concluded that the Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, conducts unlawful elections. And the 4th one, Johnson case, acceptance of ballots after 8 p.m. on election day. If that's not allowed, what are those 2 trucks that gave that major spike at the end of the night? Thank you for your consideration. That's what we need. We won't have fair elections here unless we go to one-day voting.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Any other public comment? Yes, Steve, Mr. Bukowski.
Good evening again. Payment in lieu of taxes. The slippery slope that we started some time ago. Boards have since some time chosen to not use those monies for county business, but for private business or charitable businesses. That's not mandated in 46.11 in the county commission law. Why we're doing it, I do not understand. The second item I have is Mrs. Dunklow's statement regarding an issue she has with her property and the flooding and the damage that's been done repeatedly to her. Something is amiss. It starts with the township, goes down to the drain commissioner and the county road commission. The problem is that the person is not of the highest stature in this county to get any attention. That's probably the reason. It's an ordinary person, an ordinary tax-paying family. So they don't deserve the kind of treatment that elites in this county deserve. That's only a reason I can give for that. I just can't understand how it can go on for 26 years. It boggles the mind. On another item, we had a gentleman here extol the virtues of the county commission's leadership. While I agree with most of it, there is a big gap that needs to be filled. And that is the accountability of the county commission and the prior county commission for its action. We respectfully request that the Leelanau County Board of Commission immediately prepare a comprehensive report to taxpayers to identify all the unnecessary costs to taxpayers and the harm done to certain people in the county courthouse building due to the parent Board of Commissioners clerk lowering decision on May 11, 2021. This leadership gap that we have cannot be fulfilled or filled to the extent that was talked about tonight until this board, this chairman takes the action to immediately provide an accountability. for this situation that's developed. It's cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And before the year is up, next year, it'll be close to $1 million. So let's get with it, prepare the report and give an accounting for the prior board's action and this board's action to continue that defective process. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins.
I feel like Bruce Price is back. Good friend of mine. First of all, yeah, thanks for all the work you do, and thank you, Administrator Allen. It's been a year. Thank you for your services, but I want to go back in history a little bit. May 11th, 2021. Yes, I'm the one that started it. A lot of people kind of went by the wayside because things got personal, got political. But when this all started, the main focus here was make 2 independent departments. One is what happens, we have a clerk that's been here for 40 years. She can retire any day tomorrow. She can run next year. She could maybe even lose. You guys would be in this predicament right now if the new clerk who came in didn't want to do this work. So we're looking at the future here. This was for the future. It wasn't personal. It was for the future. And I think we accomplished that. We got an HR department. We have a finance department. We got Kathy in there now for the next 6 months. I hope she does great. We need to let her do her job, let the finance department develop. I guess if the employees were here, I've had their back from day one. If they were here tonight, and I'm going to say it, the ones that are watching the meeting, you got to be patient. We formed the departments. Let it move forward and take its course. Thank you, and you guys all have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Other public comment? Well, thank you for coming tonight and for speaking out. Thank you very much. Commissioner comment. Commissioner Kramer.
Thank you. This one is specifically for Mr. McCaskey. The comment on, I'm sorry, the lady's name who was here earlier, Shirley. I can assure you that Shirley is not alone. I, as a commissioner, and also talked to Steve Christensen, we have had major flooding in our area, and it's a lot of work that the scope of work that they have to cover with the amount of rainfall, the 100-year, rains that we've been receiving. The fact that I believe that most of, I'm just gonna say it, I don't know if this is a giant guess, but we're like on a peninsula that's a floodplain, and it's difficult. Their job is difficult. I don't think anyone is intentionally looking over Shirley, and I think us as a board can come together, really make sure that that's covered. But I know that this problem is pervasive throughout the county, and so Steve's doing a wonderful job, and I hope that we can find a solution for her. But I do hear you.
Other commissioner comment? Commissioner Algar.
I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah. We should pardon a turkey here. Can we do that?
Some would say there were 7 turkeys at the table.
Oh,
Any other commissioner comment?
Gobble, gobble.
Oh, that was a good one.
Approval of financials? Melinda?
Yes, as you can see, we have a couple of amendments. I'm just now trying to catch up on them.
Sure. The first, do you want me to address which one okay, budget amendment number 23 of year 14. This is the culmination of moving the 4th quarter of our year, the 1st quarter of childcare, the wages from the general fund to Fund 292 childcare fund, so that this is the 1st quarter of the new fiscal year for CAM and to capture 75% reimbursement. So they're not on a calendar year. So we're taking our 4th quarter and amending and pushing those expenses that we budgeted into Fund 292. And this affects that so that he can have a general ledger that he can send to the state for 75 reimbursement. Follow?
Reimbursement equal.
Yeah, the opportunity for 75% reimbursement of those costs. So
Okay.
that's what this one's about. And then, oh, sorry. And then the second one, let's see, this is about the build out downstairs. You've approved it, DTR is funding it, and this is the mechanism to get that happening. The health department did send in their 100,000 as a down payment on the build out, so. And this also helps us with the heat pumps that you've approved. Because we're just playing a little catch up here with some budget amendments for things that have happened. Because we had a little speed bump recently.
Okay.
Just one.
So those are your two budget amendments.
I would recommend approval of amendment number 23-014 and 23-015. Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
And then fund transfer. Yeah, this is the, to move that DTR money to the capital building fund. And also to move some cash toward childcare to get it funded at 75%. And the wireless E911 fees, we're going to move to dispatch, to fund dispatch up to 100% for the year. Does that follow?
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Recommend approval of, I move to approve fund transfer number 23-007.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Move to approve claims and accounts, $549,528.39. Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Move to approve post audit $13,366,904.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Could I
Motion.
just congratulate you all on your adopted budget and you get a new cover for your books?
All
right. It's so fancy.
It doesn't say adopted anymore, it says approved and it puts the date on.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for Kathy.
We did it.
Look what I did, Mom.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.